All right. So my browser did not play our intro music, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. What's up, possums? Today we have Dynasty tight end rankings for you. So Josh, Billy, what's up? That kind of threw me off a little bit.
It's just great to have a nice technical difficulty to start out the pod. It just makes us feel like we're starting to actually act our age around technology. Like, oh, dang old computer didn't do the computer sound. I'm doing good.
It's the off season. That's what it is. I mean, the off season comes for technology for us every year. It feels like.
Oh yeah, a good old off season, man. Now this is the time where
just turned black. My screen just turned black, and it didn't play anything. It was weird.
I just love that.
Anyway,
I
Josh,
just love
continue.
this time of year though. Season's starting off, or the off season starting off, and you get to like start thinking about those trades that you're going to make. And I think this should help you at least a little bit. I mean, we just came from a year where we weren't even sure if there was going to be 3 tight ends, much less 12 of them. And these rankings are phenomenal comparatively to where we were at the beginning of the season with tight ends. Tight ends kind of jumped off the board after, mid-season. And I'm just really happy to have enough to even fill this, 30 to 45 minutes, but much less actually talk highly about some of these tight ends.
Yeah, I was just thinking back to last year. We were kind of worried about the position as a whole because we past the top 6 or 7, we just didn't believe in the position anymore back at the end of last season. And just this season has really just given a big revitalization to the position where we can actually feel comfortable ranking 20 tight ends. Some of these guys at the end may lose their job. They may draft there's a top 10 tight end coming in the draft this season. So maybe, one of these guys loses their jobs, but for the most part, this is the most comfortable I have felt with this position in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's not the graveyard we're used to.
Yeah, why is it always the tight ends that have a starting job that get the rookie star drafted to the team? One of these tight ends we're talking about is probably going to have the big name tight end get drafted to his team. And then
I'm just waiting for it. I know what team it's going to be. We're going to get to him because this team just collects talent, wastes it. But I have a feeling I know where he's headed because he plays at Georgia right now. So where else, in Georgia, you go to the NFL team that's already there, hometown kid. I don't know. Don't want to see that, but that's why I haven't said the team, Joe. I haven't said the team. Okay, well, today we are going to do the top Dynasty tight ends for each. We've done each position so far. This is the last position that we're going to do. If anybody wants us to do a Dynasty kicker segment, put that in the comments below. Maybe we'll think about it. I'm just joking. Let's just kick this right off. The number 1 tight end that we have in Dynasty is not Travis Kelce. It's not any of the people that have been there in the past. It is, in fact, a rookie, and that is Sam Laporta from the Detroit Lions. So, Josh, I know that you are a big fan of Sam Laporta, so I'm going to let you explain why he's number 1 in our rankings.
Oh, I mean, I don't think there's any shadow of a doubt that he is number 1 at this point. I mean, listen, we obviously Kelce's going to be on this list. We didn't completely boot him from the top 12. He's still a very valuable asset, maybe the tight end 1 for the next 3 years or 4 years or however long he ends up playing. But I think this man right here, Sam Laporta, just deserves to be on this list and deserves to be at the top of this list continuously. Just go exceeding all expectations, delivering a 3 touchdown performance in the first week of the playoffs. Probably got some people to their, fantasy semifinals at least, or maybe even championships, depending on how their leagues were set up. Just happy to see this guy. And honestly, it's not even a touchdown dependent tight end. Only 9 touchdowns on the year, which is a lot, obviously for a rookie tight end, but he's getting a touchdown and that's what you're getting out of him. You're getting 770 yards after 15 games, 100 targets already on the season. I mean, it's only going to go up. There's still 2 more games left to be played as of recording this right now. It's just going to get better and better for this man. And I think that he's going to be a valuable asset. Of course, they'll probably add a wide receiver in the, draft next year and free agency, but I still think Sam Laporta's targets are not even, close to being taken over by anyone else.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The big number there is 22. He is 22 years old. And if we told you that a rookie tight end was going to be top 3 in a PPR and number 1 in a standard, you would have laughed at us at the beginning of the year, but that's where we're at. He's going to have some down games due to this offense being absolutely loaded, but he's a set and forget option at tight end, and that's really what you want.
Yeah, and I think that the Lions are probably going to lose Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, in this offseason. He's just probably going to get a head coaching job somewhere. I just don't think it's going to affect him at all. I think that as long as Goff's there and as long as this offense is kind of filtered through the passes to Sam Laporta, to the Amon-Ra St. Browns, that they're going to continue to cook. And I don't see how, even if they lose Ben Johnson in the offseason, how that's going to affect him next season, because he's still going to be at least a top 2 target, I think, on this team at all times.
Fair enough. Absolutely.
Well,
and that was a unanimous number 1, by the way, too.
That was
exciting.
We rarely have those, but we had a unanimous number 1. All right, on to number 2 on this list is Trey McBride from the Arizona Cardinals. Now, last season when we were doing these rankings, we kind of hesitantly put him at 12, 13, 14, like in that range, because we weren't quite sure what he was going to be able to do. But he has kind of silenced us this year by coming out, taking the position away from Zach Ertz in this offense. And as the season's gone on, as Kyler's gotten inserted back into the offense, he has just continued to roll. Trey McBride was a 1,000-yard receiver in college at the tight end position. He was at Colorado State. I thought he was going to come in and be this guy. He was not it last year, but this year he's kind of shown exactly the kind of receiver he can be, and he's going to be very valuable, I think, for years to come. So he came in at number 2.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about him is the 10-plus targets, 9 targets, 14 targets in a game consistently throughout the end stretch of the season. And the thing is, he didn't even take Zach Ertz's spot. Zach Ertz got injured, and Trey McBride was like, yeah, this is mine, and I'm not letting it go. And it was very clear. And then Zach Ertz, I guess, relatively got healthy and then was just done. Never could have his job back after Trey McBride took over. And just happy to see him, finally flourish, especially considering he was the tight end 1 in Dynasty drafts coming out, and people were excited. And he just didn't have a role last year. And then this year, breaking out in a big way. And I mean, being tight end 8 on the season after not really playing the first 5 games is a super impressive feat. And I could envision him even going higher than that. I mean, he's had some pretty good games in the last few weeks, and we're looking forward to seeing him continue to flourish. And I just think you're going to be in a good shape because this team is eventually going to be competitive, and we hope next year. So,
yeah, I mean, when Ertz got hurt last year, this is kind of what we were hoping was going to happen, but it didn't really happen. But this year, he put no doubt in his mind, or our minds, that he can do it. Kyler loves him. Now, I do think we're going to see a wide receiver. A lot of people have Marvin Harrison mocked to the Cardinals at the 2nd pick or whatever. So they're going to get some talent on that side, but Trey McBride's there to stay. They have a lot of holes to fill, so I don't think they're going to go completely overboard on filling receivers and tight ends here.
I think you're right about that. And even if they get a quarterback, a rookie in here, I think that whatever rookie you insert into this offense, they're going to love Trey McBride. They're going to want a big target. So I think that he is, locked in no matter what.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't see it, like Joe said, we didn't really see it at the last year. It was good. The performance was good, but it's not what it's been this year, where he's been, coaxing people to championships and getting them, past that gauntlet of the rough midseason tight end. I mean, it's just weird this year. We got Trey McBride, Dalton Schultz, Sam Laporta broke out earlier, but there was like a lot of who's the other? Dalton Schultz and Dalton Kincaid. All 3 of them kind of popped up at the same time, like week 6 through 8. And so if you didn't have a tight end, i.e., me in a couple leagues, or you had Freiermuth go on IR, or you just didn't pick the right one, you really believed in Kyle Pitts again, you got pretty much a free tight end in the middle of the year. And I think that was what was huge for McBride and for these other tight ends as well, which we'll get to here in a bit. But
for sure. And I would definitely, I'm sure Joe's going to be all over this. This might be a good target in the offseason to at least do a temperature check for whoever is the manager of him in your league. They may be willing to think that this, maybe won't be this consistent forever. Maybe this was just a pop year. Might want to float out a trade or two, because I think you're going to be able to get him a lot cheaper than you would, some of the bigger names in the tight end space. Because I think Trey McBride is still kind of simmering in that lower tier, which I think he has the potential to be like we have him as the number 2. So,
Billy, I think you're right. And honestly, like if they do go out and get Marvin Harrison, or they draft, something along that ends, that's a perfect time to strike for a trade for Trey McBride, because everyone's going to be running on that. But we've seen what he can do. We saw what he did in college. Fire him up.
Yeah, nobody with Sam Laporta is trading you in the offseason in Dynasty, but
No.
Trey McBride might be on the table.
Yeah. No, I think it might be the time to strike. All right, number 3 on our list is T.J. Hawkinson. Now, I ranked him at number 2. Everyone else ranked him at number 3. I did my rankings. So did Joe prior to the ACL, MCL injury that he suffered literally this weekend. So I do think that hurts him a little bit. I would love to know from an injury perspective, like how long he is going to be out. But I still think he has all the potential to be the number 1 tight end year in and year out. And I'm not too worried about it. I'm keeping him at number 2 just because I think if he comes back at full strength, even in the beginning of next season, that he's going to maintain the pace that he was on this entire season.
We know who he is, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, Laporta is killing it. We've had a full season of it now, but McBride, same way, about half the season. We know who TJ Hawkinson is. The ACL is very worrisome. In fact, I did factor it in when I put him at 3. I just had the foresight to know something was going to happen.
Nice.
I'm just kidding. He's real solid.
No, and this is one of those guys I still don't think you can even buy, like with the injury alone. I don't think people are really selling Hawkinson in Dynasty, especially with Kelsey aging, Mark Andrews and some of these other, high range tight ends getting a little older as well. I just don't see anyone, really trading Hawkinson. But even like I would have probably put him at 3 anyway because of, and this has nothing to do with Hawkinson. I don't know what he is. He's tight end 1 year or going out on the injury. Obviously, it's going to probably go down a bit. And then, tight end 2 the year before. But the thing I don't hate for Hawkinson, but is a little bit worrisome is the quarterback. I don't know who's going to be the quarterback next year. And that's
I just want to see Kirk back here.
I assume he probably will be, but on the off chance that they go buy one or they end up doing the Derek Carr, fill-in type quarterback, it depends on who goes there, in my opinion. And Justin Jefferson is obviously target 1, especially for a younger or worse quarterback,
Yeah.
So
no, I think you're right there. And yeah, I mean, TJ Hawkinson is still in a very inexpensive, price at this point. See, the thing about tight end is you want a player that you're going to put in and you're going to have to worry about it. Like this is one position that it's kind of like quarterbacks in that sense where like you want to get one and you don't want to have to think about it again because the people that are struggling for tight ends, like that kills their team and they have to try to hope for the best. But Hawkinson is a guy that you can set and forget, and we all hope that he comes back at full strength to start the season. Speaking of the next,
real quick on Hawkinson one more time, just being in this offense, I mean, they are just constantly throwing the ball. That's what O'Connell wants him to do. They put Mullins in there. He's throwing the ball 36 times a game. They should be running it. What the hell are they thinking? We saw it with Dobbs, so we know whoever is back there is going to be slinging the rock. So I think Hawkinson's pretty safe, even if whoever's at quarterback for them.
And likely's gotten 6-ish targets each game too since Andrews had been out too. So it's not even like there's not that role is still there. I'm just saying like Andrews will be getting more. So the fact that there's still 6-7 targets going to the tight end spot with some of these backup quarterbacks as well is still pretty impressive.
Yep.
For sure. Well, on to number 4 and currently injured also is Mark Andrews. I'm proud of you, Josh, for getting us kind of prefaced there. Yeah, spoiling it a little bit. Mark Andrews also has an ACL problem. Listen, they're going to have to get rid of the hip drop tackle because the way to take down a tight end, no joke, is to do the hip drop tackle. And as that gets, taken out of the league, I think we might not see as many tight end type injuries that Mark Andrews suffered. He is 28 years old. That is kind of a detriment to, but we've seen what Kelsey has done well into his 30s. So I still think you've got at least 4 or 5 good seasons out of Mark Andrews left. And with his chemistry with Lamar, I mean, what more can you say? The guy is amazing.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I mixed up the purple teams, and I just.
No, I know. I knew what happened.
I've done that since I was a kid, and I swear to God, I still do it to this day. I'm like, well, likely still getting targets. I was like, that doesn't matter because it's not the right team. I'm sorry,
Josh. That was.
I honestly though, Andrews is 28. I get it. I don't personally think that this is ever going to stop. Lamar's there, and Lamar is going to feature Mark Andrews. I don't know how long Mark Andrews is on a contract, but he's not going anywhere. I mean, he's their number 1 target. I mean, sure, Zay Flowers and Bateman and Aguilar and all the other ones have been doing okay, but there's still no like breakout number one target. It's Mark Andrews, and that's who Lamar Jackson is comfortable with. So I don't think 29 is a detriment to Mark Andrews. I think he'll be fine. Obviously, let's see how he recovers in the offseason, though.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Mark Andrews, I think I have him at 4 also, but that's just because I like the upside of the other guys better. I like Mark Andrews. There's no reason he can't be the number one tight end every year.
I actually have him at number 6, but we'll get to my 4 and 5 the next two. But it's no detriment to Mark Andrews. It really isn't even the injury. It's just more of these other two, in my opinion, get a little bit disrespected when it comes to dynasty tight ends.
For sure. All right, on to number 6, and it is the man himself, Travis Kelce. Josh had him at 5, Joe had him at 5, and I had him at 9. I just think that there's only like 1 year left. I think we've seen a lot. I mean, overall, he has been a great tight end this season, and if you've had him on your team, you haven't really probably been winning because of him, but you haven't been losing because of him either, which is a strong thing to have in a tight end. But I just think as the season has gone on, I just don't know if he is wanting to play football much longer. So, like, I'm not going to lie, if in July he's like, yeah, I'm out, I honestly would not be shocked, to be perfectly honest with both of you.
Yeah, honestly, that's the only reason I have him at even at number 4. I mean, naturally, this is tight end 1, tight end 2. You can see it all the way down the last 7-8 years. But you don't know how much longer here. And yes, this is Dynasty. The thing is if you have Travis Kelce, you're not trading him at Dynasty. You're keeping him on your team until the end. I mean, you can try to flip him, but that could pan out terribly for you. He could go right back to doing the 300-point tight end thing, and you just traded him for, I don't know. I mean, obviously, if you trade him for anyone above him on this list, I'm cool with it. But my thing is this is the same argument for the Tyreek Hill. We got to rank him in the top 5 in any dynasty anywhere because they are a number 1 or a number 2 until they're done playing. And I don't even think this is Travis Kelce's fault that his numbers are down. It's Mahomes. It's the Chiefs. If they would have went and got a fucking receiver, man, they would have been a team. I mean, that's what it comes down to. They've seen all the drops. They've seen all the silly penalties and everything. I think that's obviously hurt Kelce's numbers as well. Like, yeah, he can be the guy and he can go get all those targets, but at the end of the day, there's got to be someone else that could do it on the team, and it's clear that there isn't.
Josh, you're right. This team has the yips, and it has spread like a virus throughout the locker room. Travis Kelce is one of the, 4% of NFL players that are older than me, so I want to see him keep going just so I can continue to go on that. But no, I'm going to give Travis Kelce the benefit of the doubt here. This whole team, it's been shit. He's got 2 more years on this contract. I don't see Travis Kelce going out like this, especially where the state of the team is, because we know he's the leader on that team. So I could see him flying off with Taylor to Never Land and just living out their retirement, but I really don't think that happens. I think Kelce's back for the next 2 years at least, and he's going to be right back to where he was.
I mean, you're probably not wrong. I just honestly, though, like you said, you're sticking with him till the end. I would try to trade him this offseason. I would not sell him cheap. I would not sell him for bargain prices, send them $1 and you get 3 quarters back. I'm not going to do something like that, but I wouldn't mind shipping him off this offseason. Definitely would be the time to strike if somebody's like salivating over having Travis Kelce on their team.
Yeah, you had Travis Kelce at 9, by the way.
I did. I stand by that.
Can I interject with some breaking news real quick? I know this is a podcast, so it's the Broncos are expected to cut Russell Wilson in March. How is that going to hit their bottom line?
I mean, they have to do it. They're saving through $30 million or something by benching him the last two games. Whenever I saw that tweet about if they sit him these next 2 days, they save his like bonus or whatever that he would get. Then they still have to eat $30 million or something like that. I mean, it's sad to see because it's the end of an era for Russ. I mean, he's gonna land on his feet somewhere, but like it sucks that he is not getting that money basically. But at the same time, like I get it. Like this team's not working. It's been 2 years at this point, and I'm sure it was nice to see them kind of have this dream facade of coming back, which they still technically have a chance of. But at this point, I feel like they've all but just shut that down. I mean, I don't think Trevor Siemian's leaving the promised land at this point.
All
Probably
right,
not.
future Minnesota Viking Russell Wilson, come on down.
Oh man, that's so accurate too.
Oh, it's dark. Anyway, on to number 6. And that is George Kittle from the San Francisco 49ers. Josh had him at 4. Joe had him at 6. I had him at 5. Joe,
Pretty good.
what do you like about George Kittle?
What's not to like about George Kittle? He's an absolute boss in this offense. The Niners do have a potential out from his contract after next year. They'd still be taking a massive hit if they did it, but they are kind of in salary cap hell. They got a lot of people to pay on that team. But assuming he's on the team, he's just going to keep delivering every single time he's out there. You know, it depends on the week. He might be the first option. He might be the second, might be the third. But, you know, his big games are going to be enough to get you over the top, and he has a very high floor. So George Kittle's awesome.
Yeah, and so I have Kittle the highest, not by much. We're all pretty evenly spread on this. I feel like Kittle gets a lot of disrespect in the fantasy community for whatever reason, and I get it. It's not consistent. You're not getting 10 a game. But the thing is when you are getting those big games, it really is huge. And also, we have to remember the 49ers were extremely lucky this year. They've been fully healthy the entire year. I mean, we had a game or two without Debo or Ayuk, but it wasn't a long stretch of absence for anyone. Kittle also played the full year. I mean, if there was something to happen to McCaffrey, if there was something to happen to Debo or Ayuk for a long period of time, Kittle's going to step right in and get a couple of those targets. Like, yeah, sure, right now it's pick and choose whatever game plan works best, or run game, pass game. Maybe the tight end has a good matchup. Kittle's been doing it for 4 years now of just elite production, top tier production. Had one off year in the middle, I guess 6 years. 2, 3, 4 each year, except for the year he gets injured. I mean, that's just George Kittle, man.
Well, I think what's been scaring people the most is just not trusting the quarterback. And we finally have a quarterback in Purdy with this offense that I feel as if we can all trust, and we finally can see how this is going to work out. Because in the years past, with like Trey Lance going into the season, we're like, how the hell is this going to work out? It ended up not, mattering because he didn't play. But we're like, how's this going to work out? And then with Jimmy Garoppolo, how the hell is this going to work out? Like, we just didn't know. And with Purdy, how he's developed this entire season, and this offense as a whole hasn't developed this entire season, I just feel a lot better with him now than I have ever with Kittle. So next season going into it, I'm going to be a lot higher on him going into it than I've probably been in the last couple seasons, because this feels like a stable, rock-solid ground, which they haven't had there in a while, I feel.
Yeah, I feel like with Kelsey, at least, I think you kind of passed that trade him for anything chip, and now you just got to let him, finish out his career on your team. But with Kittle, I do think he is a sell high for me right now, especially after the season he's had. I do like him on my team, but I think this is probably the time to get out from under him, just to get something in return. If you can get a McBride plus,
people only forgetting.
If you could get like a McBride plus like a running back or something just for Kittle's name, go for it. Someone might pull the trigger on that one.
There you go. Okay, on to number 7, and that is Evan Ingram. So Josh had him at 7. Joe had him at 10. I had him at 8. Josh, why do we love Evan Ingram?
So I just want to say this is actually right where we draw that line. Tier 1, Tier 2. I know there's, usually it's 2 or 3, but this is right where the end of that Tier 1 is. But Evan Ingram is clearly in and could be vaulted into that Tier 1. I'm sure he's 29 years old, but he had a really soft career on the Giants. He didn't really get a whole lot. It's pretty bum years for the Giants as it was. He goes to Jacksonville, and he looks like a wide receiver out there, and a team that really hasn't needed wide receivers because they've had several on their team. Ingram's still heavily involved. You see it by the targets itself. It's the consistent 7, 8, 9, 10 targets. Sure, there's some down weeks, where he's getting 5 or 9, but honestly, if I'm getting 8, 7 from my tight end, I'm usually not upset. Personally, I like those bigger weeks, which he definitely has those splash weeks over the season. A little bit more consistency at the beginning of the season as well. The touchdowns is the one thing that's lacking, though. They don't use him as a jump ball receiver. And honestly, it was Travis Etienne in the beginning of the year. And at this point, they're just not scoring touchdowns anymore. So I don't know how Evan Ingram didn't get vaulted more into that, kind of goal line carry target guy. But regardless, I mean, his career has been phenomenal since he's joined the Jaguars, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I think there was probably some interest of with Ridley there. Is he going to be able to get enough targets? Well, we've seen what Ridley did this year. It's been very hit or miss, but at the same time, even on those games, Evan Ingram's still having good games. So I think there's a lot left in the tank here, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, you can just imagine if he even got 3, 4, 5 touchdowns. I mean, he would probably be a top 3 tight end on the season without doing the math in my head real quick. But, like, I just think, like, the Jacksonville Jaguars aren't very good around the end zone, so that's kind of probably what's been hurting us a little bit. But he's playing like a Cooper Kupp-ish role, which is bizarre, but it works. And, I mean, I've been enjoying watching him this season. Yeah, he's playing exactly like a wide receiver, and Jacksonville needs that because they clearly don't trust anybody, especially when Christian Kirk went out. He's kind of filled in for even more targets. We thought they were going to spread out a little bit. They have not. It's been the Evan Ingram show with a little bit of Ridley on top.
Yeah, I had Evan Ingram the lowest, and I've never been able to get excited about this guy throughout his career. He's not interesting when he plays. And then the Jaguars, I don't trust them at all. I don't get excited watching them play. They can't sustain a top running back. They can't sustain a top receiver. It's someone different each week. I don't enjoy it. It's sloppy football to me. So I like Ingram. I'd be fine having him on my team, but I am just not the biggest fan. That's why I have him the lowest.
I think you have to be excited. For one, Christian Kirk was a top receiver before he got injured. He was consistent. When Kirk went down, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with Ridley. I don't know why it was like Ridley game. And then they're like, hey, here's Travis Agnew or whatever the heck his first name is. Jamal Agnew. I mean, they deploy such a weird tactic. I mean, that's that Doug Peterson offense. It's hard to not be excited about this team just because of the sheer talent that's around Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence, I mean, looks good at times. I mean, it's hard. I'm excited about the Jaguars team all the time. I think the reason I have Ingram ranked so highly is because I had Calvin Ridley playing all year. I had Christian Kirk playing all year. And when I saw 3 straight targets to Evan Ingram, I'm like, why don't I have him anywhere? Why is this the one Jaguar I don't have on a single team? I will definitely be drafting Evan Ingram in that kind of mid-tier next year and redraft, just because I don't think anyone's like super excited about Evan Ingram. I'm not going out and making my dynasty trades for him, but I will say that in redraft, I will take Evan Ingram next year in a league for sure. I mean, it's just like that 100 targets in 15 games is just wild to me for a tight end. I mean, you don't see that. This is what Kyle Pitts was supposed to be. This is one of those Kyle Pitts moments where this is what we thought we would see from him. And yeah, the touchdowns aren't there, but I think that rights the ship eventually when they realize, man, we were bad in the goal line and we didn't throw to our 6'3" tight end who can jump ball over these 5'10" defensive backs. But
right.
Yeah. He's a high floor guy. That's all he's ever going to be. I don't.
For sure. This is everybody's yearly reminder that Ole Miss in 2016 had Evan Ingram, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, Dawson Knox, and Van Jefferson all on the same football team and went 5-7. Wow. It's just, you know, every time we talk Dawson Knox, Evan Ingram, or any of these guys, I just have to remind people that they had a freaking elite team and they sucked. It's bizarre to go back and watch. All right, moving on to number 8. It is Josh's friend Dallas Goedert. Josh had him at 9. Joe had him at 9. I had him at 7.
Yeah, I wanted to put him higher too. The only thing that's really holding me back is, I mean, he's one of the big 3 for the Eagles. He's always going to be one of the big targets that gets the ball. He's averaging 10 points a game each week. He's been injured the last 2 years, so I think that tight end 17 tag, that tight end 15 tag that he's going to have by the end of the season is going to actually. This is my buy in Dynasty, and I'm not saying trade anyone above him on the list, but maybe a couple of these people below him on the list you could get away with. I flipped Waller for Goddard in the offseason last year, and I'm happy about it. I mean, I'll take my 10 points from a tight end.
Jeez.
What?
No, that person was really just gave him away.
It was Hunter.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you know how that goes. But no, I mean, honestly, it's not the sexiest. It's not what I expected whenever Ertz left. But I really just love Goddard on the field when he's playing. And yes, there's some games where he just doesn't get the right amount of targets. The Eagles are finicky. We know this. But the thing is the consistency for Goddard is going to always be there. You're going to get 7-8 points a game. There's going to be bigger games. There'll probably be some more touchdowns in the future if Jalen Hurts has to ever stop doing the tush push. But At the moment, that's going to stay for the foreseeable future, as we see.
Yeah. So that's funny you said that he's a buy. He is a sell for me. He is rock solid on your fantasy team, but no. It's not even his age. It's that you said he's part of the big three, but he's always going to be number 3. He's never going to be, he might have a game or two where he's up there, but it's always going to be AJ and Devonta. So, I mean, he puts up some big games. He's got the name value. He plays on a great offense. Those are all things people like. I would try to shop him.
I just think minus the injuries the last few years, I mean, which I guess in that point you could say something about his durability, although his broken arm against the Cowboys was definitely the defender's play and not him. But he came back from a broken forearm in like three weeks, came back and played and went out there and had a balling game. I think the thing is you're just not going to get a lot from him because people are going to go look at his stats on Sleeper and they're going to see 17, 12, 11. They're like, oh, he's not even good. I mean, obviously everybody knows who Goddard is, but at the same time, I think you're just, I don't think the value, I think the value you're getting to buy him is better than you're getting to sell him.
Possibly. And he might be the rare buy and sell at the same time guy. He's just kind of a guy at this point. I just think, having those other two guys there is always going to keep him as an average tight end.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Josh. This is the Eagles, so I don't want to cut you off.
No, you're a fan, I think. I don't know if you traded yet.
No,
he's back on Baker now.
This is a bad jersey to be wearing tonight, but no, Goddard is a buy sell. I like both of y'all make compelling cases there. I just wouldn't give him away for nothing because I hate to give away the floor of Goddard for something that may not have the exact same ceiling. So yeah, he is always going to be the third option. And I think if they add a receiver, he might even be the fourth option. Kind of depends on who they add. All right. Moving on to number 9. That is Dalton Kincaid from the Buffalo Bills. Josh had him at 11. Joe had him at 8. I had him at 6. I think that there is more meat on the bone here. He has not been good these last couple weeks. He's honestly probably killed your team. You probably spent a lot of your fab to get him. And when Knox went out, he was giving you really good games. He probably inflated your scores a little bit. And then he's completely, got the rug out from under you, making, you lose. But I think in the long run, long scheme of things, Dalton Kincaid is going to be one of those guys that's used as a receiver on this team. And he is going to be, because I think Diggs will be gone in this offseason. I don't see how he stays another year. And then it's just going to be a Kincaid because Josh Allen's not leaving. So until they add another receiver, I think this might be the best option for him. I think Josh Allen's just going to model Mahomes and make tight end his number 1 option.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, we saw him be the PPR monster with Knox out. The only problem is Knox is quote unquote a $20 million a year tight end. That contract is absolutely bonkers. The Bills do have an out after 2024, but we're at least going to be stuck with him for next year and just praying to God that Knox gets traded or cut after that. That's pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah, my biggest thing was he was one of those the big 3 that came out in the middle of the year due to injury. And he played. This is what we wanted to see from McBride last year when Ertz went down, and we did see it. And then honestly, I think people are this is the real buy right here. People are jaded from Kincaid. They lost the playoffs because of him. I mean, you started him for week 15 and you got a 0. And then you went out there and you're like, you skated by, you got to the semifinals. And then you put up another 0 or 1. And you're sitting there like, are you fucking kidding me? Like the promised land. And it's weird because he's actually not getting the play when the team's doing good. And I mean, there was, of course, the James Cook game in there and, there wasn't any room for it, but you'd think that he'd still be getting, 4 catches for 20 yards or something. You know what I mean? Like I'd take a 6-pointer in the playoffs, but I think that's what jaded me on Kincaid. But yeah, no, like Joe said, Knox is there next year. And this was my problem with Kincaid and Dynasty and well, more so for redraft. I mean, obviously nobody kept Kincaid throughout redraft and it really paid off for him. I got him in free agency in a couple leagues and I was happy, but Knox is still there. It's going to be a competition for targets. Josh Allen really can't make up his mind what he wants to do with the tight end. When Knox was there, he wasn't using them. And then when Kincaid came out, he used them heavily and then he just stopped using them the last couple weeks. Josh Allen's a weird quarterback, man. Sometimes he just loves throwing the deep ball to Gabe Davis and sometimes he just likes checking it down to Kincaid. So
Yeah, you guys both use the word jaded, and I want to use it because I'm jaded at Dalton Kincaid because I knew I was taking a tight end. I had a second-round pick of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I knew I was taking a tight end. I did all the research. We had our rankings up. We had our mock drafts, and I was like, I'm going to take Laporta here. But every other place I looked had Kincaid ranked higher than him, and I took Kincaid, and I'm kicking myself to this day about that decision.
Yeah,
And that hurts because you can't go back.
No.
That's the beauty of Dynasty, though. You have to just live and learn.
It really is because people in Dynasty, like the draft of Kincaid was, it was a good move. It worked out for you at week 8, but, week 1, Laporta looked way better and what's still obviously probably to this day, but it's more of those things that you can't go pick up Kincaid out of free agency afterwards. And like Trey McBride's been sitting on someone's team for 2 years and then he finally breaks out. So it's just, that's what I love about Dynasty is there's no free agency to go, I'll just grab him real quick.
Yeah. Well, plus I love going back and looking at drafts where it's like, if you look at a draft this year, Puka's went in the 5th round, Tank Dell went in the 4th round, and then you have like wide receivers and running backs, for example, that went in the 1st round. They probably haven't even been able to use yet because they're waiting for their turn or haven't found the
Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, Quentin Johnson's a good one. Zach Charbonnet, even though he got a little bit of a run, but not enough to where he was like a top 3 dynasty pick, and it's just
those were really like the only 2 top misses there. I mean, some people had Jalen Hyatt really high on their list too.
I mean, I would still consider like JSN. Like he's been a miss for me. I mean, we knew
with JSN, we knew we had to wait a year. I mean, we were still taking him out because
Puka in the 5th round. So it's just funny to look at that kind of
fireball bet for 15 years from now. JSN has a better career than Puka.
Oh, who's writing that one down?
I'll write it down. All right, let's move on. One of the most controversial players for the last 3 or 4 years now. Number 10 on our list is Kyle Pitts. Josh has him at 13. Joe has him at 7, and I have him at 11. Joe, we're going to let you start out with what is to look forward to with Kyle Pitts before Josh throws a bucket of water all over it.
It's fine. I'm still betting on the talent here. We know Kyle Pitts is an absolute stud. Arthur Smith is going to be gone next year, or they're going to have a new quarterback on this roster. So where he's at, we're going to keep talking about buys and sells. This price is starting to be a really easy buy low for me right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, Kyle Pitts is still a buy for me, or is a buy for me at this point, I should say. A lot of red and yellow on this screen if you're looking on the video audience, but it's got to be better, right? I mean, we see flashes of it. We see big touchdowns from him. Obviously, the rookie year was actually pretty good, and these last 2 years, it just doesn't make any sense why he's bad. It's like they've tried to feature the one person. They featured Pitts his rookie year. They tried to feature London. It didn't work. And then they featured Ish Bijan in 2023. And this team is just a dumpster fire. And if Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan don't end up with some sort of close to a Hall of Fame performance by the end of their careers, I completely blame Arthur Smith.
Yeah. Well, when Justin Fields is on the Falcons next year, he's going back home to Georgia. He will unlock all of these guys, and I will be a Falcons fan. So,
that would be such a sexy team.
Oh, they're going to take Brock Bowers too. You just know it. You just know it. These heathens are going to take him and ruin his career. Speaking of
Brock Bowers, I don't mean to cut you off, Billy, but we've gone through our top 10 here. Where is Brock Bowers once he's drafted?
Well, it depends on what team he goes to, because if he goes to a team that needs if he goes to a team that needs a tight end, then I would say he's probably at least in the 9 to 10 range. He has not had a great season, and he's had some lingering injuries, so I don't know how much that's going to affect him, but he still is a very special talent, and I don't know how anybody could go against taking him in the top 15. I don't know where he's going to end up, though.
Well, we've seen it the last 2 years. We saw McBride get drafted to back up Zach Ertz, and then we saw Kincaid drafted to back up Dawson Knox. This just fits. Brock Bowers to go back up Kyle Pitts. And, I mean, to be fair, they threw to their backup tight end more than they threw to Kyle Pitts this year, so maybe Brock Bowers still breaks out if he goes to Atlanta.
I hate Arthur Smith. I hate Arthur Smith so much for what he's done to the fantasy football. Yeah, I mean, look, Kyle Pitts, we know the talent. We know the talent of Drake London. We know the talent of Bijan Robinson. We know the talent of this team. We just need Arthur Smith to actually use the talent because that's how they're going to win football games. He has chosen to screw over the fantasy football community instead of winning football games, which I find hilarious, by the way. But, it is what it is. The biggest troll job he's had this entire season is Bijan Robinson. He used him so much, and then the week 1 of the fantasy playoffs, he just pulls the rug out from everyone's feet, doesn't use him at all in that game against the Panthers, just to lose to the Panthers and embarrass himself. I can't get over this guy. I hope he is done playing or done being a coach after this year. I hate the Falcons. Always will.
We need to make a shirt at this point, though.
Yep. F the Falcoholics. I'm telling him. All right. On to number 11, and that is David Njoku with the Cleveland Browns. Look, if you had asked any of us before the season, not, other than Kyle, the rest of us, we were kind of up and down on Njoku. There was some of us really were like, yeah, I think he's going to have a good year. And some of us were like, Deshaun Watson sucks. There's no way this is going to work. But it doesn't matter what quarterback they've had. Njoku has been able to weather the storm. And if you've had him in the fantasy playoffs, you're probably going to win your league. So, look, he's not had a great career, but I think now is the best Njoku we've seen so far.
Yeah, he's the tight end 1 with Flacco, 24 points per game. The question is, what is this quarterback controversy going to look like this offseason? I mean, I assume they're going to at least extend an olive branch to Flacco and say, hey, come compete with us.
I highly doubt it. But, I mean, honestly, there's a chance that they make a run in the playoffs, and it's not because of David Njoku, and it's not because of Joe Flacco. It's because that defense is stifling. That team as a whole, I mean, Amari Cooper just broke the single game receiving yards record. Like, this team is super exciting to watch. And, like, honestly, it's like the one team you don't want to match up against in the AFC. Like, the Dolphins have lost big games. The Baltimore, I mean, obviously that's arguably, number 1 seed, just took down San Francisco. But I wouldn't want to play the Cleveland Browns, dude. Like, that is an ugly, scrappy game. You are going to get beat up on the defense, and then you're going to get kicked in the mouth with David Njoku and Amari Cooper. Joe Flacco out here leading the way at age 50. It's amazing.
It's kind of like the Giants last season. They were just disgusting to play. Like, they weren't, this team's a little bit more flashy than the Giants were last year. But last year, whenever a team would play the Giants, we would all just kind of like, well, they're going to be stuck in the mud for 4 quarters. And it's kind of what it's like playing the Browns, at least the opposing offense against them.
Yeah, no arguments against David Njoku. Kyle literally put me onto this guy. I didn't believe he existed before last year. And it's been phenomenal. Even before the few Flacco weeks, he was consistent, getting 10 points a game, 20 points a game. It's been one of those like not sexy tight ends to start, but like if you've done it all year, you're at tight end 6 on the year, and you're probably like Billy said, this is a freebie to get into the playoffs.
For sure. All right, we're going to round out the top 12, and then we'll go a little faster after that. Number 12 on our list, Cole Kmet. Josh had him at 8. Joe had him at 12. I had him at 18. Josh, why do you love Cole Kmet?
I'm excited about Cole Kmet. I mean, he's still 24 years old after playing for 3 years. I have to imagine, regardless of whether it's Fields or a new quarterback next year, Cole Kmet has a starting job. I mean, it's DJ Moore and it's Cole Kmet and it's whatever rookie they get. We hope it's Marvin Harrison, but obviously that might not, be the play at this point if they do not keep Fields at this point. So, I don't know. I just big fan of Kmet. I know the touchdown numbers aren't super flashy, but the numbers themselves are. It's just really a well-rounded tight end. You're getting 6 touchdowns, 700 yards, 70 receptions, tight end 7 on the year. I mean, it's just one of those guys that like back-to-back tight end 7 performances after, being pretty much a no-name, no touchdowns 3 years ago. I mean, it's pretty amazing what Cole Kmet's done, and I don't think anyone really pays attention to him. And I think that's why I have him a little higher than you guys do. I'm actually kind of shocked Joe didn't. Apparently messed up the numbers because I thought he would have him higher.
Yeah, and I'm pretty high at Cole Kmet. I mean, honestly, I think the recent run with David Njoku kind of jaded me a little bit with that one, to throw that word out again. But no, Cole Kmet, he's as solid as it gets. I mean, he's signed a 4-year contract. He's there for another 3 years. Love Cole Kmet.
The fact that we have 12 tight ends to talk about is just amazing to me. And we still
Sure.
have some guys, some big names off this list right now that if situation turns right, we could, see them being in this top 12.
That's fair. All right, let's go through a couple of these tight ends here that are a little bit lower, but still useful. Pat Freiermuth is who we have at 13. Jake Ferguson is 14. Joe, you had him at number 10. What are you liking about Jake Ferguson?
I mean, dude, I thought Hendershot was going to be the guy at the end of last year. I thought he was going to be what Jake Ferguson is right now, but he got hurt. I thought he was going to chew into Ferguson's snaps, but he's still playing 80% of the snaps. So we know Dak loves the tight end. We know the Dallas offense is going to continue to be pretty good. So Jake Ferguson's the guy.
That's fair. Number 15, Dalton Schultz for Houston. Number 16 is Michael Mayer. I had him at number 12, so I'll mention a little bit about. I think that just because the season has been just horrible for the Raiders, that a lot of people have kind of brushed aside Mayer. But look, they have Devontae Adams, and Devontae Adams is an afterthought in the NFL right now. That's Devontae freaking Adams. So if you think Devontae Adams is getting, completely suppressed, then what do you think is happening with Michael Mayer? Like, I think that he's going to be a valuable asset going forward. We haven't seen it much this season, but like in the last game that they just won against the Chiefs, they didn't complete a pass after the first quarter of the football game. What are you supposed to do with that? Like, I don't know. Like, how are you supposed to judge a team on that kind of a thing? So I just think that he's going to be better in the future. He was the number one tight end in Dynasty in fantasy football going into the draft. He happened to fall to a really bad spot, but I think that we just haven't seen, had he ended up in Detroit or had he ended up in a better situation, I think we would be seeing a lot more from him, but he just happened to end up in one of the worst offenses in the NFL. So that's just kind of been
it's really just get this guy a quarterback, right? I mean, we know the talent's there. This is the prime one. We know a lot of people that play in these leagues with us are less knowledgeable than we are. So float a trade for Michael Mayer, please. See if you
can get him dirt cheap. I'm not saying he's going to be, super consistent, but he's going to be better than he's been this season.
This is another one of those teams in the Michael Mayer sweepstakes or in the Justin Fields sweepstakes. And if that is the case, look at Cole Kmet's numbers and extrapolate that to Michael Mayer's. I mean, it could be very similar. It could be even better. We don't know what this talent is yet. We haven't seen it. Jimmy Garoppolo is always a stopgap year quarterback, and AOC's been okay. But the Raiders aren't the type of organization to want to just be okay and just want to maybe skate to the playoffs. I mean, sure, what they've done has been phenomenal, and they still have a shot at the playoffs. But what it really comes down to is they're trying to build something here. And sure, they have Devontae Adams for only maybe a year left, but they got Michael Mayer for the future. And so I am excited for this. They need a quarterback, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fields ends up on this team either. So if they do,
I still think it's Kirk. I still think Kirk's going there because could
Seems
you
like
imagine on the Raiders if Max Crosby and Kirk Cousins were on the same team? That just
for sure.
Those post game videos of the cigar smoking would be lit.
So I just had one more to bring up. He's number 20 on our list, but I think with the recent breaking news of the quarterback change, Greg Dulcich, we have at number 20. Last year we had him at number 10 because we really loved the direction and they were headed in, but they ended up making a move at head coach. Should we have him higher at 20 based on them no longer having Russell Wilson after this season?
I mean, yes, probably, but I feel like the issue is not only the fact that Russell Wilson hates tight ends and Greg Dulcich. It's more of Greg Dulcich was injured all year. The hamstring soft tissue injury has just been hampering him. He had a mini breakout last year, and it was really exciting to see. We don't know what this is going to be. I think 20 is perfect. The perfect backup Dynasty tight end. I think he's a great addition for trades in Dynasty like this offseason. And I'll give you Dulcich, or I'll take Dulcich off your hands. I need a tight end. I don't think you're trying to pay over high for him. Maybe in the draft, you float a 4th rounder for Dulcich just to see what you can get out of him. But I'm hopeful for the future for him. I mean, Adam Troutman's not the answer. I don't think people believe that in general, but It'll be interesting. You don't want to overpay for Dulcich at this point with his, injury and small flash from the year before.
Yeah,
for sure.
I just want to highlight two guys real quick, Billy. I'm going to go back just a touch.
I was about to ask you that, Joe, so I'm glad you went there.
No, so Pat Freiermuth, we have him at 13. We know the talent is there, and we saw it 5 weeks ago. Can we please just get someone a quarterback? Get this man a quarterback, for the love of God. And then Dalton Schultz has been absolute money with CJ Stroud. He could easily be higher on this list, about to be 31, but is he there next year is the question. I assume he is, but we do have a huge question right there.
The 1 year contract kind of hurts it a little bit,
I mean, the Texans should have some money to go around. I mean, I could see that being the case.
Everybody's cheap on that roster right now. They have a rookie quarterback, rookie wide receiver 1, a cheap Nico Collins right now. Like that, now would be the time to strike. And they're both their running backs.
He's just been a stud with Stroud.
Yeah, I mean, even without Stroud, he's been playing pretty well the last couple of weeks. He's had a pretty good performances as well. So it's nice to see.
For sure. All right. I have one more that I want to mention, and because he didn't even make Josh's list, even though I ranked him, that's Isaiah Likely. He's literally the handcuff tight end. There's one tight end in the league that needs to be handcuffed. That's Mark Andrews with Isaiah Likely. And I think if at any point you have Mark Andrews, you need to go get Isaiah Likely. You might need to pay a little bit for him, but he is not a bad fill-in, and he gets – I'm not saying he's going to mirror Mark Andrews' numbers, but he's definitely going to put up enough to where you're not going to totally miss the position and put in somebody that you don't trust. So I think he's the rare tight end handcuff that should be ranked.
Yeah, and he's penciled in with that team for 3 more years too, which is just wild to me. I was thinking maybe this would be a good person to get off the team and start anew on his own, but nope, he's linked up. And he really is. They do not use him when Mark Andrews is out there. Like, this would be a perfect team for 2 tight end sets, and you never see it.
It would be. Oh, it's a bummer that they don't do it.
Yeah, that's my only thing is I don't rank handcuffs for tight ends.
Josh, do you have anybody that you want to talk about here at the end? Tight end.
I guess we could talk about Luke Musgrave. We want to see it in Green Bay, and there were some flashes. I mean, there was nothing, super. I mean, we kind of all ranked him in like the 17, 16 range. Obviously got injured and hasn't played since, about halfway through the season. There were some flashes though. I think there's something here. Obviously going to be on the team for the next few years. Jordan Love's still pretty young as it comes down to it. So obviously a lot of wide receivers on this team, but I mean, it doesn't really seem like Jordan Love cares who he throws the ball to. So I don't think there's a, favoritism thing for really any of even the wide receivers, but for Luke Musgrave, maybe that's more of a play call thing in the future. And I think that might be a decent target over the offseason because, they see it and they see 300 yards and like, he was okay, I guess, but just kind of a backup tight end at the moment in fantasy and could be something. I mean, I don't really have anything super impressive. Like he wasn't like the most impressive tight end in the world, but like if used correctly, he can be a really talented tight end in the future.
But he was a rookie coming in and looked pretty good. I mean, I just want to know if that's going to continue because Muskrat looked really good. I do think Kraft played well enough that he's going to have somewhat of a role still, but I like this rookie tight end thing. This can keep going.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing this. And I mean, Tucker Kraft's actually played pretty well too. It's just, I think it's Musgrave's job. It's just, what's going to happen. Is it going to be one of those, it's going to be one of those splits, the Ertz Goddard thing, or, I can't think of a good mix of Ferguson, Hendershot thing where it's just like, one of them will do it. I don't know who it is though. So, I mean, I'm just excited that we had this many tight ends to talk about. Really, that top 6 is elite. And then the 7 through 12 is still good. And still great even potentially. So
for sure.
I still believe in Chigga Conquo too. I just want to throw his name out real quick.
Okay. All right, we're done.
I appreciate your last second idea. Any Daniel Bellinger fans on the crowd? No, I'm just kidding. We're not gonna
I was hoping with Waller out. It didn't work.
Yeah, it did not. All right. Well, that's all we got for this week. That wraps up all of our Dynasty ranking content. Next week, we are going to dive back in to the 2023 NFL draft and kind of go through the first round and see if teams made the good calls, the bad calls. We're going to be ranking and grading with a year in review type thing. Each team's draft from last season in the first round. That's what we got coming next week. And then after that, it's a full page turn into 2024 content. And we are going to be hitting the ground running with all sorts of draft content coming at you. And then we got a couple guests that we're going to sprinkle into that are going to help us figure out some other things going into the 2024 season. So, boys, this is pretty much a wrap on 2023. How do we feel about
New Year's, everybody?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Joe, for the last time of 2023, get us out of here.
Happy New Year's and good night.
Thank you for watching this IDP Guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.